Hi friends, welcome back to my pretend cooking show where today we will be making some dinner rolls using freshly milled flour. So these are my simple ingredients. What I'm hoping to do is yield about 18 to 20 dinner rolls. The recipe that I have followed before yields 12, and I'm using the same quantities to make 2 loaves of bread. So we'll just see how many dinner rolls that yields. We will learn this together. So I have got my lovely beautiful wheat berries that I will be milling. I have got some active yeast. I've got some softened buttah. Got some Redmond salt, warm water, and honey here. So let's go ahead and I'm going to put my wheat berries into my NutriMill. And in a couple minutes, we will have lovely, warm, fresh milled flour. This only takes a minute or two to mill. And I just want to show you how lovely, oh, it's so nice and warm. It's got all of the wheat bran and germ. Delicious and warm. I could play with it like a child in a sandbox. Okay, so I'm going to include this and plus all of my other ingredients into my mixer. Now, some bread recipes require you to mix things in steps and let them sit, but the recipe that I follow, you can add everything to the mixing bowl at once and just let it go. So simple is better with me. So let's go ahead and add all of my ingredients to the mixing bowl. So I'm going to first add all of my lovely flour, fresh milled. And then doesn't really matter what order you add, but I'm just gonna add the water. Got my yeast, got my salt, easy peasy. Oop, something was a little sticky in there. Gonna add my softened butter. And then just a zhizh of honey. From my last video, my coworker asked, how exactly do I spell zhizh? And so I gave him what I thought a zhizh of honey was, but just a zhizh. Good enough. I'm gonna add my dough hook. Locked and loaded, and I'm gonna put this on setting 2 for about 12 minutes. And you can see, even after it's only been 2 minutes, it's coming together nicely. So I realized when I bought this KitchenAid a long time ago, it came with this glass bowl, and I actually like using this because I can actually visually see when it rises, and I can kind of mark it versus the stainless steel bowl. It wasn't as easy to tell. And we are coming along nicely. As you can hear, my poor little KitchenAid artesian, this is probably the most amount of dough this little guy can handle at a time. So I could invest a lot of money into a bread mixer, but for now, this is what we will have, and I can't imagine I'm going to be making a ton at a time. So for now, this works for me, but little guy's struggling. Not terrible, but he's doing his job. Okay, we are to the point where my dough is nice and stretchy. And so I'm gonna take it out of here, coat with some olive oil, and then put it back in and let it rise. Okay, I have taken it out. I have coated the bowl with olive oil. I've put it back in, tossed it around so that it has a coating of olive oil on it so that when it rises, it doesn't dry out. It keeps everything nice and sealed in there. So I'm gonna cover it with a towel and let it rise about an hour or until it's doubled in size. So again, you can see why I use my nice glass bowl. I can get a feel for what it looks like before, and then we'll come back in about an hour. One other thing I wanted to mention is the reason that I do this on the stove is you do want to give it a warm environment. So putting it on the stove with the oven light on gives it a nice warm environment. And then a lot of people use saran wrap or plastic wrap, but I just use a towel. It's less waste, and I found that it pretty much yields the same results. Okay, an hour has passed, so this is our first rise that is finished. So I'm going to grab my dough, we're gonna punch it down and shape it into our little dinner rolls here. So let me bring this over here, take it off and see how nice and puffy it is. So it has doubled in size. I'm gonna punch it down. This is very satisfying. And then I'm just gonna take it out, put it on the counter for now. We're done with this. So you can just knead it for a little bit and make sure we're gonna get all the dough, or I'm sorry, all the air bubbles out. But it's feeling good. Now that I've done this a few times, like I know what good dough feels like. But this is all looking lovely. So what I'm gonna do to try to get these rolls as even as possible is I'm going to use my trusty kitchen scale here. And the whole thing weighs about 1260 grams. So I'm just going to take my little calculator because I can't math in my head. Divide it by 24. All right, so we'll see what size what size the rolls are if I make them 52 grams each. So that is about 109. Let me see about making it a little. I think before when I made them, they were in like the 70s, yeah. So again, we're just experimenting with the size because these are gonna rise a second time. So let's make them, again, I'm just experimenting. Let's go with 65-ish each. Good enough. Okay, so that won't yield me fully 24, but it's close enough. I don't need to have exactly 24. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the dough, roll it, and I'm gonna flatten it a little bit, and then you want to create tension at the top of it so that it rises nicer. So with each roll, I'm just kind of pushing through so that this top layer is nice and tight. And I'm going to do that with the rest of these. Now, I have my Pampered Chef brownie pan that I'm using. And then for the overflow, I'm just gonna use a silicone pan. I've never used this before. I'm not even gonna grease it because I feel like these are just gonna pop right out. So I don't grease either with the nonstick Pampered Chef brownie pan either. So I'm gonna fill these up and see how far I get. Okay. So, as you can see, I am one short, so I have yielded 23 dinner rolls, which is fine. It doesn't really matter how many there are, but I just wanted to experiment with my quantity of ingredients to see how much it would yield. So now we're gonna do a second rise. I'm gonna put these back sitting on top of the stove under the oven light. Probably won't take an hour, but maybe it will for these to double in size. So I'm gonna cover them with towels and we will check on them in a little bit. And this is what they look like before the second rise. Look at my lovely risen dinner rolls. So we're going to put these in a 375 oven for about 25 minutes. Okay, it has been 25 minutes. These are looking lovely, so I'm going to take them out. as I suspected, these little guys hopped right out of their respective baking pans. So I did not need to grease either the silicone or the nonstick. They literally rolled right out. So it has been about 30 minutes. I have let them cool. So I'm just gonna take this littlest guy here. He's like the runt of my dinner roll litter, but let us break into him and see deliciousness. So I call this a success. I know I've used the word experiment a lot this video, but I think this is good. I think I will continue using this quantity so that I could just put these on the freezer and pop them out and they defrost very quickly. So that concludes my dinner roll video for today. Thank you for joining.